Want to learn rigging but don't know where to start? Welcome to my hopefully all-encompassing tutorial. I purposely designed a pet model which I believe to be less intensive and beginner-friendly to teach you. You can download this model for free in the description and work alongside me step by step. I recommend doing so as I'll be introducing Live2D Cubism to you little by little through this pink panda bat. We'll be working in Live2D Cubism where there is a free and a paid version of this program. If you want to view all the differences between the two, you can do so with this link provided in the description. You can also activate a free 42-day trial of the paid version that has all the features, but you may want to save that for when you're doing your main model. I tried my best to make this model free version friendly, but keep this in mind as we work. Feel free to pause as many times as you need. But the first thing to note when opening your Live2D Cubism program is the layout in front of you. Yours may be white. Mine is black because I have it in dark mode. If you prefer dark mode, you can activate this by going into File in the upper left hand corner, going to Environment Settings, and then changing the color theme to dark right here. Hit OK when you're done. We have to start by pulling up our file. Go to File, Open, and search for your newly downloaded Panda Tutorial PSD. Live2D Cubism reads PSD files. If you ever want to rig your own model in the future, you must not only separate your artwork into different layers, but you must save it as a PSD or Photoshop document. Let's get acquainted with what has appeared on the screen. To the right we have our panda, to the left we have our art folders right here. If we click on this little arrow, we can see the different folders that I have separated them into in my art program. And to the bottom, we have them just all loosey-goosey that we can use under the little deformer tab here. You can adjust your windows however you like, but I believe mine are still set to the defaults, so your screen should look pretty similar to this. The first thing you want to do, or at least what I like to do, is click on this button right here. It's this little grid icon in the middle. It just makes the art a little bit easier to see. We're also going to organize our model. This is the first step when it comes to getting your model ready for rigging. Hold down the left click in the upper left hand corner and drag it down to the bottom hand corner of the artwork. You're going to see that it's selected a bunch of different things. Then we're going to go to this button up here that says Create Warp Deformer. Go ahead and click that. And I like to call this the entire model. Hit create. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to separate the head and the body individually in their own warp deformers. Now, there are two ways to do this. You can do the same hold left click and drag method to try to grab as much as the head, or you can individually select the art over on the left side of the screen under deformers. I prefer to do it under deformers because I tend to make less mistakes that way. So in order to select the art that we want to have, hold down the control button on your keyboard and just left click every mesh that the head has. So this is going to be all of the eye layers, all of the mouth layers, the head, and the ear. To check to make sure that you've grabbed every single layer you're supposed to, you can move the head, and if you've grabbed everything you needed to, only the head should be moving. To put the head back where you want it to, hold Control and then hit Z. Now, once you have the head, create another warp deformer and label it head. To finish the rest of the organization for the body, all you have to do is the exact same procedure, except you're just going to do the body parts. So I'm holding down Control and left clicking the rest of the body. To double check to make sure I have everything from the body, I just move it to the left and the right to make sure I didn't accidentally grab any head layers, which it doesn't look like I did. Hit Control Z to put the body back into place. Go back to this Create Warp Deformer button, and we'll label this the body. This organizational method is going to make things so much easier for us when we really get into the nitty-gritty of rigging. Now that you have organized the head different from the body, we're going to go up to File, and we're going to hit Save. You're going to want to get into this habit of saving your model. You do not have to name it anything fancy. If you want to, you can, but you're going to want to save your model as much as possible, just in case if your program crashes. In the art meshes, I used a technique called Add Glow. This makes it so that the eye shines a bit, but once you export a art piece into Live2D rigging, any multiply or add glow layers will need to be told that they are actually a multiply layer or an add glow layer. It's basically a shading effect. We need to tell that this eye glow on both the left and the right eye are actually a glowing layer. To do this, we click on Eye Glow, for example, go to Inspector, and then you can come down to the blend mode option right here. Right now, it's listed as normal. To change it back to how it was in the art, we just select it to additive. We'll do the same thing to the eye glow. We just click on it, change the blend mode to additive. Your artist should tell you in the layer itself whether a piece of art is a glow layer, or an additive layer, or a multiply layer, so you know what you need to change with the artwork. Now, we're not done with organization just yet. Now, if you're on the free version, you might be limited on the amount of warp deformers that you have access to, but let's try to do as much as we can. So we definitely want to separate the mouth into its own warp deformer. So for the mouth layers, we need to grab the upper lip, upper skin, lower skin, upper teeth, lower teeth, and oral. Once you have all of these different art layers, go ahead and make another warp deformer and label it the mouth. We're going to do the same with the eyes. We're going to want to put them in its own little folder as well. So grab our eye shine, our eye glow, our eyeball, L eye shine, L eye glow, and L eyeball. Once you have that, go to the create new warp deformer and call it eyes. If you want to do one for the ears, you can as well. Just grab both the L ear and R ear and label it ears. Now let's break down some of the body into further organizational parts. We can grab L foot and R foot and call that feet. We can grab L arm and R arm and call that the arms. And we can grab the R wing and the L wing and call that the wings. That is probably as much as I would break down the organization of this specific pet model. Now that you have organized your deformers, we want to organize our parameters, which is this little box here. You're gonna see a bunch of different stuff like angles, eye opens, brows, mouth, etc. We're gonna make folders so this is just a little bit easier to navigate, especially if this is your first time rigging. We don't want you to get lost. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on angle X, we're gonna then right click it, and we're gonna get this menu to create a folder. All we're gonna do is we're gonna call this head angles, and we're going to push angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. So now if we click on this folder, it will drop down. Now, if you want to make this look nicer, you can right click this folder again and you can auto change the color to one of the defaults. Or if you like to be a little fancier, you can go to advanced settings and you can manually pick whatever color you want on the color wheel. We've got a pink panda, so we're gonna make it pink. We're gonna make a few folders now ahead of time so that when we get into rigging, we are not slowed down. We're gonna right click again, we're gonna create a folder, we're gonna call it eyes. For the eye folder, I'm gonna put in IL open, IR open. We can put in the IL and IR smile, eyeball X, and eyeball Y for now. It looks like a lot, but it won't be too crazy. And again, we can go to advanced settings and you can choose whatever color you would like. We do not have any eyebrows for this model, so you do not have to worry about that. But we do have a mouth, so go ahead and create another folder. We'll call this one the mouth. You'll have to scroll down a bit to find the mouth form and the mouth open. So let's go ahead and drag up mouth form and mouth open, and we can put those in here. We're almost there. We're going to create 2 new folders. We're going to create one called body, and then for the body we're going to grab the body X and body Y, and then we're going to create another folder and we're going to call it breathing. Alright, you're going to have this parameter called breath that you're going to want to grab for breathing. And we'll tuck it right in there. Alright, congratulations! You are done with the organization part of your model. Make sure that you save so you don't lose your work, which you can either do the shortcut Control-S or go to File and hit Save. Next, we are going to do your very first rigging movement, which is actually a really simple one. It'll be done super quick. So at the very beginning, I had you select the entire model and make a warp deformer called entire model. This is actually going to be our very first movement. If you are on the paid version or on a free trial, go ahead and click on entire model. Select a new warp deformer and call it breathing. This isn't necessary, which is why I say if you're on the paid version, go ahead and do this. You can still do this method even if you just do it on the entire model. Click on the breathing parameter and go up here where it says add 2 keyframes. It's this one with 2 little dots right under the inspector tab. And then once you're here, you're going to slide your little red dot all the way over to the right. And then you're going to have 2 little boxes. You're going to have a green box that's around the panda and then a red box. I like to grab the red box, which you'll know the difference because your mouse will look like this with a little 4 cross on the green box. And your mouse will look just with like a 2, like a little line on the red box. All you're going to do is you're going to move the panda up slightly, and I mean very slightly. Make it subtle. When you've made that movement, you can test it very briefly in this window by just moving your slider back and forth, and you can see that the panda looks to be moving up and down. Now if you want to ever test what physics or movements you've done, you go up to this menu at the upper left that says modeling, click on it, and then go to the bottom that says physics settings. Now, breathing is an automatic parameter that already moves, so whatever we set to it is going to move already. We don't have to do anything fancy. And here we can see with the subtle movement that we've done just by dragging that red box up a little, the panda looks like it has some life into it. It's already moving up and down slightly as if it was breathing. And just like that, you've rigged your very first movement. Now it is time for us to tackle the head angles. So for this, we can either click right on the head here. You can find the head in the little art parts up here. Or you can find the head in the deformer tab. There are multiple ways that we can get to the head. So once we're on the head, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the auto button up here. This is called the automatic mesh generator. Everything that we mesh is going to help us move in this program. We'll get to this menu here, and then we'll have this preset. For this video, and to help you get used to this, we're going to be using a standard preset for almost everything. Go ahead and hit standard and then hit X. This applies the standard mesh automatically for us. What we're going to do is open our head angles folder, and we're going to create a new warp deformer, and we're going to call this the actual head. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to angle X, and we're going to add 3 keyforms. For breathing we did 2, but for this we're going to do 3. That is because the panda is going to be looking straight at us in the neutral position, but then we now need to add it looking to the right and it looking to the left. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our little parameter here and move it all the way over to the right. This is a mistake I made a lot when I was first starting, is I forgot to move my parameters when I was about to do a rigging motion. So make sure it is moved all the way over to the right. Then we're going to go to the actual panda and we're going to hold shift and then move the head to the right. We hold shift so that it doesn't accidentally go up or down. It keeps it on the x-axis. And then if we move this over, it'll show that just the head is moving to the right. It may look a little awkward because the eyes don't move with it, the ears and the mouth don't move with it, and that's okay because we're only moving the actual literal head part right now. Then once we do this, we have to show that the side of the head is moving backward a little bit, right? So in order to give this effect, we're going to hold left click and push the middle, the bottom, and the top of the head in a bit. The middle will probably be the one that's pushed in the most. And then if you want to take a look, you get a little bit of a curvature effect here. Again, it's going to look a little weird because the other parts of the face aren't moving with it yet. So what we're going to do is instead of manually doing the same thing for the left, we can actually tell the program to reflect it over for us. So we're going to keep our dot over to the right, and we're going to go down to this 3-line or hamburger menu that says Show Palette Menu. We click on this, and then we get this menu that says Reflect Motion. We can click on that. It tells us what we're on, which is the actual head, and we can choose to reflect horizontally or vertically. If we want to reflect horizontally, hit OK. So now, without having to manually do it, which would cause a lot of issues, it probably wouldn't line up perfectly, the program is smart enough to realize, hey, we can do that for you. So before we go and move everything else on the x-axis, I like to just jump right to moving the head on the y-axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the x-axis one more, this little button here that lets you input a number, and just set it to 0 so it's back in the neutral position. Then we're going to go to angle Y and hit 3 new key parameters again, or 3 new keyforms, my apologies. Then we're going to move all the way to the right. Now for the y-axis, moving the dot to the right means you're looking up. That'll be when the model's looking up. And then moving it all the way to the left is when it's looking down. So for looking up, all we're going to do is we're just going to hold shift again and push it up a bit. I also like to grab this little dot here on the middle and hold shift and push this up a little bit as well. And then if we take a look, I like to do that. Then now for the x-axis, I showed you that you could reflect horizontally and vertically. I actually don't like to do that for the y-axis. I prefer to manually do it. So if you want to, you can hit the hamburger menu and do reflect vertically. I prefer to do it manually. So for the angle Y, I just scoot my little dot all the way over, hold shift, push it down this time, and then hold shift again and push down the green dot. And now I have my little head motion there. We have one last part of the head before we can move on to the ears and the eyes and the mouth and get everything moving together. Click on the little numerical value on the right, set it to 0. Then we're going to go back to the palette menu here, and there will be something called Synthesize Corners. Go ahead and click on that. Make sure parameter 1 says angle X, and parameter 2 says angle Y. Then we hit OK. What this does is it syncs up these two parameters so that it'll flow nicely. So what we can do is on the far left here, right before the text, is we can click on it and it'll merge the two together. So if I move the dot around in this little grid, it'll show us that the head is moving around. Now, if you want to get fancy, some people will get really intricate with their head motions and their mouth and edit it, but as this is a beginner's first rig tutorial, I'm not going to get into that. We're just trying to make sure that the head can move around. Now, let's do the ears. So, I had you put the ears in a warp deformer first. That is because this will allow us to move both ears at once. But before you move the ears, we still want to add an art mesh to them. So what we can do is we can grab the L ear, and then we hold on to control and grab the R ear. This will allow us to mesh both of them at the same time. Then we go up to this button that says Auto, which is our automatic mesh generator. We can go ahead and hit Standard again, and then there we have it. They are already meshed and ready to go. Now, you could go to the warp deformer and try to move meshes without having them properly, or try to move art parts without having them mesh. I've done that before, and it can get goofy. We're going to repeat a lot of the similar processes we just did for the head. So go ahead and go to angle X and add 3 keyforms. Make sure you move the red dot over to the right. And once again, I'm gonna hold shift, grab this little thing in the middle, scoot the ear over. Then I'm going to grab this green dot and just tuck it in. And as for how much or how little you want to tuck something in, that's really up to you. What do you think is going to help you achieve that turning effect? And then of course you can check it. I think I want to tuck this ear in even more, just to help with that turning. And the more pieces you start to turn, the more the head turn will come together. And of course, you can go back and adjust these as you go. Reset this back to neutral. Go to the angle Y, do the same thing. I'm just gonna scoot the ear up a bit, push it up, scoot the ear down a bit, scoot it down, and then synthesize the corners by going to that same menu, hitting synthesize corners. We still want angle X and Y. Hit OK, and then there you have it. The ears are now moving with the head. Now, maybe we want to do some eyes. So we can go and find our eyes, hold down Control and grab every single eye art piece. You can do the standard mesh again. I'm going a little bit faster because as you begin to repeat these processes, you'll start to get the hang of it a little bit more. And then I had you put eyes in a warp deformer. This is why I like warp deformers, because they make doing these motions a lot easier. So you're not moving every individual art piece over, you're instead moving like a group of art pieces. So for this, you have the little pink part of the panda's fur to help guide you on like where the eye should go, so you're not scooting it over too much or too little, which I hope will help you when it comes to the head turns. And you can of course reflect this on the eye as well. And we'll want to do the same thing for angle Y. And then synthesize the corners once again. Let's go ahead and do the nose next. So, grab the nose. If you're on the paid version, go ahead and give it a warp deformer. Even if you're on the free version, try to create as many warp deformers as you can until you run out of space, or until it won't let you do it anymore. And again, we're going to add a standard mesh to the nose. Now the nose is really the part that's going to help us create that movement of the face turning. So we're going to just do the same thing. We're going to scoot the nose over. However, when the face turns, the nose does a lot of the turning too. So something that we can do to really help show this is we can just push the mesh over like this. Maybe we even move the middle piece of the mesh too. Maybe not that far, but just to show like, wow, it's moving. And of course we can adjust it more as we need to. Let's reflect it for now. And then we'll do the up and the down. Synthesize them. Let's do the mouth. Now the mouth is going to require a lot of intricate meshing, so we're actually not going to mesh the mouth right now. We're just going to try to get it into a nice position. So for this, you can just grab the mouth warp deformer you made, make your 3 keyforms, scoot it over, and then try to find a nice position for the mouth. I like to curl it up a little bit with my mesh like this. Then we'll do the angle eye version, which will just be pushing up the mouth a little bit and then pushing down the mouth. Yeah. And of course, synthesize the corners once more. Let's go ahead and check our work and see how well we did or what little edits that need to be made. Once again, we go to modeling at the upper left corner here, physics settings. Now we have our breathing that automatically shows, but in order to make the model turn its head and whatnot, we just grab our mouse, hold down left click, and then move it around. So I see here that the head turn that I made was pretty subtle. Like, yes, the head turns, but it's not a very dramatic head turn. And honestly, if you like this type of head turn, that's fine. You don't have to make it super dramatic. You know, depending on the model, some people have like really, really stunning head turns, and they're able to get a very dramatic range, and some are very subtle like this. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it subtle, as head turns are a lot tougher than they look. But of course, if you want to like really tuck this ear behind and make this ear stick out, you can play with it if you would like. There is one last part to the head that I would like to do with you. So we're going to grab the head warp deformer, not the actual head that we did together, but the head. And we're going to go up here to this one that says create rotation deformer. We can go ahead and label this head Z. It's going to create this little symbol here. Go ahead and hold Control, Shift, and drag it down just underneath the line that's at the bottom of the head. Then we can go hit angle Z of our head angles. This is a really cute and fun movement you can do, and it's really simple. Once you have this set up, go ahead and select 3 keyforms, move it to the right, and then you'll have this little like curved line that appears at the edge. And go ahead and tilt the panda's head as much as you want. Now, don't go too far because the body is only drawn so much to the back, but feel free to just give it like a little head tilt. And just like we have in the past, you can go to this little palette menu, reflect motion horizontally, and now your panda can do little head tilts back and forth. Rotation deformers like this are really good for the Z movement, and it's honestly a really cute movement that you can do on humans too. And it's also really good for wings. And at the very end of the video, if you feel confident with rigging, I'll show you how to do some very simple wing rigging, which is why I included them as like a little fun extra challenge for you. So stay tuned to the end if you want to give yourself a little challenge. All right, so now you have your head movements done. We've got a Z movement. We're going to work on the eyes next, and the eyes are going to be pretty interesting, and they're not going to be super tough with the way I've drawn this model. So you can go ahead and pick whether you want the right eye or the left eye, whichever one suits your fancy. I'm going to work on this eye, which is the model's left. It's our right, the model's left. Now, again, if you have warp deformers to spare, go ahead and put the left eye in its own deformer. It helps to be organized, and you'll find as you continue to rig that you'll find your level of organization. If you're someone who likes to be very meticulous or someone who is okay with being a bit looser, you'll find what level works best for you. But we'll go ahead and put the left eye, which is the L eye shine, L eye glow, and the L eyeball in its own deformer for now. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the L eye shine and the L eye glow. Go ahead and hold Control to grab both of these. Hit Inspector, and then we see this clipping ID option right here. Go ahead and click that. It's going to pull up all of our art layers. We're going to scroll until we see the eyes, which is actually the very first thing. and we're going to clip it to the Li ball. Clipping the Li shine and the Li glow is going to make this next part so much easier. What you're going to do is you're going to add 2 keyforms to the Li open, and then you're going to keep the red dot to the left. You'll see this red box appear around your eye, which is what we want. And what we're going to do is we're going to squish it down from the front, and then we're going to squish this down from the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and get it pretty close, so that when we have our movement, it looks like the panda is squishing its eyes shut. Now, with the human model, you're going to have eyelashes, and those eyelashes are going to help you create that closed look. But for this little panda, I made the eyes very, very simple, so you can just get an idea of what it's like to move the top part of the eye down and the bottom part of the eye up, so you can create a nice little blinking motion. Now that we have your eyes squished together for this blinking motion, I'm going to actually introduce to you your first set of physics. And that is going to be with the Li glow and the Li shine. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a parameter, and we're going to call this I jiggle X. You want the minimum to be -30 and the maximum to be a -30. Hit OK. We're also going to create a parameter. We're going to call this I jiggle Y. Same minimum and maximum. We have the Li glow. For the X one, we are squishing from left to right. So you can choose how much you want to squish it. I'm just going to see, I made that mistake I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Make sure you add 2 keyforms with the Li glow. A red box is going to appear. You can squish it as much or as little as you want. Just make sure you drag the red dot over to the right before you make your movement. And do the same with the Li shine. If you want to make the movement a little bit more interesting, squish one a little bit more than the other. So I chose to squish my Li glow layer more than the Li shine layer. Do the same thing with the I jiggle Y parameter you just made. Except now, you're going to be squishing up and down. So I'm just squishing this one up and down, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Make sure you add your 2 keyforms and move your dot all the way over to the right as you do this. Alright, so now they are moving up and down, and then you'll want to synthesize your corners like we've been doing. Make sure it says parameter 1 is I jiggle X and parameter 2 is I jiggle Y. You'll want to synthesize them. Alright. Once you have done that, I'm going to show you how to set it up in the model. So when you create physics, they're not going to automatically apply. So if you want to test out your blink, you can go to the IL and just test it out for yourself, like this, by moving the slider. Or you can go to this little box, this is pattern A, and then scroll down and hit posing, and then there's this little play button here. And once you hit the play button, it will actually play all of the different things you've rigged so far on your model. And then hopefully, there we go, it'll do the blink and you can see how the model's moving so far. I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. I'm actually going to reopen it so it's back in the neutral position. And what we're going to do is you're going to see this whole menu. It's dulled right now. We're going to hit add. We're going to call this I jiggles. We're going to hit add, and we want this to jiggle whenever the IL and the IR open happens. We're going to change the effectiveness to 50, and for this section, feel free to copy everything I do as is. Then, for the pendulum, go ahead and just hit add. It'll add a default setting. For the output, we want the outputs to be our I jiggle X and the I jiggle Y, because that's what we had rigged for the physics. Now, in order to test this, we go to our eyes again and we just move this parameter, right? Right now, nothing's really happening. That's because our output and our scale is really, really low. To change that, we just hit the increase output button. And now we'll see that this has changed to an output of 100 and a scale of about 33. Let's do this again. Now, you can see, let me really zoom in on the eye here, that the eye has a subtle jiggle whenever you open and close it. Now here, once again, this is the very, very basic way of doing this, but this is where you can add different levels to the pendulum. You can choose how long it lasts for, how much it shakes down here, the reaction time, to get different effects. You can choose how many pendulums you want. So if we add another pendulum, you can see like the little difference there. So again, this is, once you have this basic setup here, you can start to play with it to see the different effects and see what you can do. But congratulations, you have just not only rigged your first physics parameter, but you made your first little physics piece. Now it is time to make the other eye match. Now, if you're on the free version, you might have to manually do everything we just did again. However, I encourage you to try to follow along with the steps I'm about to show you in case the free version does let you repeat these steps. I genuinely don't know, but what I'm about to show you will let you have the eyes match each other perfectly without having to redo everything again. So we've been working on this eyeball. What we're going to do is we're going to hold Control and left click the Li eyeball, the L eye glow, L eye shine, and the left eye deformer we created. Then we're going to go to the main eyes deformer that we created earlier. What we've done is we selected the art meshes from before and the whole art layer that the eyes is attached to, or the deformer. Then we're going to hold Control C and Control V to copy and paste the eye we just did. Then what we can do is right click, go to the very bottom. I know my model is covering it, but at the very, very bottom, there's a menu that says Reflect. You're going to hit Reflect. Alright, and it'll let you choose what parameters to reflect. You're gonna hit angle X and eye jiggle X, and then hit OK. And this is how you make your eyes match. Once your eyes match, you can delete the parameters from the R eyeball. You can delete R eyeball, R eye glow, and R eye shine. That was there as just a placeholder to make sure that you did it right. Now, it actually turns out I made a mistake. The eye jiggles are backwards. So this just tells me I did an oopsie. I checked the eye jiggle X when I shouldn't have. And if you did that same thing, don't worry, because you can go back and fix it. If you hit Control Z, you can undo mistakes that you've made. But do not spam Control Z because you might actually undo good work you've done. So just slowly undo Control Z until you're back to this point where you have to reflect the eye. Hit right click again, reflect. Do hit angle X, but don't hit eye jiggle X. And then you can test it again, and there we go. We're on the same page. Now that you know how you can fix a mistake, what we're gonna do now is we want the panda to be able to wink at us. So before we click off of this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the IL open, and if we scroll all the way over to the right, we get this little menu. There's a green dot with a plus, gray one with a minus, and then we have this little menu. We're gonna go to the bottom and select change, and this will allow us to move it to IR open, which will let us wink. Now we can go ahead and delete the R eye shine, R eye glow, and the R eyeball. Now we can clearly see the panda is able to wink. Let's go ahead and just take a look at our work. Modeling, physics setting. We can go up to pattern A here, hit posing, and then hit the play button. Right now, it's just tilting its head a bit. I'm waiting for the blink, and there you go. We can see the subtle bit of the eye jiggles, which are the physics that we put in. Congratulations! You have done your eyes, and you've even figured out some eye jiggle physics. You'll probably see that in your eye folder, we didn't touch eye smiles or eyeball X and Y. Eyeball X is when the eyeball itself is when your eyes move left and right, eyeball Y, that's when they move up and down. For a model like this, there's not really a whole lot going on that can make the eyes move that way, but for a human model, you'll probably move it that way. I'm going to show you what it would look like if you wanted to do these motions, but they're not going to be rigged on this panda model. But essentially, if you wanted to do eyeball X or Y, it's quite literally this simple. You just hold down the shift, move it to the right, move it to the left. If you want to do eyeball Y, you move it up, and then you move it down, and you synthesize the corners, which is what I've been showing you multiple times throughout the video. And there's your eyeball X and Y. Let's work on our arms, shall we? So typically when it comes to the body, you'll be moving stuff on a human model like clothes and arms and whatnot. Now for arms like these are in front of the body. So instead of showing you how to like put one arm in front of the other, I'm just going to show you a cute little motion you can do. So we can go to our arm deformer, grab our L arm and R arm, standard mesh it. Pick whichever arm you want to work on, whether it be L arm or R arm. I'll do the left. And I'm going to show you to create a rotation deformer. You don't have to name it if you don't want to. I'm not going to. Hold down Control and move this. Keep holding down Control, and this will allow you to change the direction in which your rotation deformer is. Now, what you can do is I'll do this on body X. Create 3 keyforms. Move it to the right, move this slightly up, and then move this slightly down. Now your arm will move slightly up and down. Now if you do not want to redo this little tiny motion, you do the same thing I did with the eyes. You make sure you have arms rotation highlighted, hold down Control, grab the L arm, grab the whole warp deformer the arms are in, Control C, Control V to copy paste, right click at the whole model, hit reflect, hit OK, and now the arms will move slightly. Once you've confirmed that everything looks okay, go ahead and delete the right arm, go to modeling, physics settings, and now whenever the model looks left and right, the arms will also move up and down. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the feet because this will just add a little extra motion to the model, and it's a simple motion you can do too. So grab the feet again, give it a not that menu, give it a standard mesh, pick which foot you want to work with. I'll grab this one, grab the rotation deformer, hold Control, move it where you want it to go, keep holding Control to change the direction. I'm going to do it on body X again. 3 keyforms. I'm going to have the foot go out and then the foot go in. And then grab the feet rotation, grab the left foot, grab the whole feet warp deformer you made, Control C, Control V, right click, reflect, OK. It actually looks like the panda is now tagging its feet. Go ahead and delete the right foot that you no longer need. So now if we check our work, we got a little bit of body movement now. It's not a ton, but this body was drawn in a way to where you wouldn't need a lot of body movement. So now let's work on the mouth. And the mouth is one of the most complex part of a model in my opinion. But when it comes to a pet model, I just wanted to show you some of the basics that goes into mouth rigging. And so that's what we're going to focus on. So this part, instead of standard meshing, which you can do, if you do not want to manually mesh it, you could standard mesh it if you want. But I want you to not be afraid of manually meshing where you need to. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The manually mesh, it's right next to the standard mesh. It's just the one over. We're going to go ahead and click it. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the lasso tool, which is right under tool details here. grab this whole thing with the upper lip that we're on and delete it. Then we're going to go to the plus button. Right now there's not a whole lot going on, but we're going to hit this box that says mirror edit. Now there's a line here so that we only have to create half of the little vertices. I like to start in the center and work on the top. This is going to give us so much more control over the mouth. You can choose how close or how far you want to put the dots, but I like to put them decently close together for the mouth. I also like to put dots right on the actual mouth itself. And then once I get a piece that I'm happy with, make sure that everything is closed, then you can hit auto connect and the check mark. You did a manual mesh. It seems a little crazy at first, but it's actually not too bad. Once you have this manual mesh, you can go and hit the lasso tool again. This might not be available on the free version, so let me know. But what you can do is you can hit Control C to copy this. Go to the lower lip, do the lasso tool just like last time and delete the vertices from before, and then hit Control V. Now the vertices are exactly the same as the one on the upper and the lower lip, just for a bit more consistency. If you were unable to do this step I just showed you, don't worry, it's not going to matter on a model like this, but I just wanted to show you that this is very possible and it's going to be helpful if you go into rigging further. Now we have meshes like the upper skin and the lower skin that I want you to manually mesh as well. Again, you could standard mesh it if you want, but you'll have a lot more control over it if you manually mesh it yourself. So here we are. We're going to do the same method as before with the upper skin. Go to our plus button after we delete the 4 vertices. Have our mirror edit, which should automatically be on now because we clicked it before. I like to start at the top, and I like to have a lot of dots on the top. And then as I get closer to the bottom, I like to space them out more. And it's okay if you are away from the actual art part. That is fine. Then once I get here, I just slowly work my way up. If I get to a point on the edge, I can just go up here to the selection tool, go back to the middle, and then start working my way back up again. This will help you have more control over your mesh. I just want you to not be afraid to manually mesh, especially because there are situations like the mouth where it can be very advantageous for you to do so. Once you feel like you've gotten a decent mesh, go ahead and hit auto connect and hit the check mark. We're gonna do the same thing with the lower skin. The exact same process. I'll still walk you through it. Sometimes hearing the repetition can really help. If you're feeling confident, feel free to skip ahead in the video a little bit. Otherwise, feel free to just listen along as I get these dots in there. Like, see how I did this angle a little harsh? Again, you can use Control Z to undo some of the dots. And again, don't spam Control Z. I know it can be very tempting to just spam Control Z to get to a better place, but I can tell you from experience, I have spammed Control Z way too much, and I have lost good work because I had gotten frustrated and just undid it. This might help you, it might not, but I want you to have the confidence to be able to manually mesh when appropriate. Alright, hit auto connect when you're done. Now that you have your upper skin, your lower skin, lower lip, and upper lip meshed, it is time for me to introduce to you the Deform Path Edit tool. What this does is it gives us a line to work with when it comes to things like this. So for a line like this, it's squiggly. I like to put a dot here, here, in the middle, basically on each of the corners, the middle, and each in between. Do the same for the lower lip. Try to get it as close as you can. And then for the upper skin, do it to the edge of the mesh, but you're still following that little wavy line format. Same with the lower skin, except for doing it to the end of the mesh. This is going to make opening the mouth easier for us. So typically, in order to get multiple mouth forms, you have the mouth open, which is what we're gonna rig here. But you also have mouth forms, which allows you to get different shapes. Like, for example, my model throughout this entire video, you've probably seen it change into different shapes. We're not going to be rigging any mouth forms. I just want you to see what it's like to add art meshes and open the mouth once to get just one open form. It'll be like a puppet in a way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the lower lip and we're gonna change our tool to the arrow tool. Go ahead and add 2 keyframes and move it all the way to the right. Then we're gonna hold down Shift and move down this lip line. Then we can use the green dots to our advantage to really curve this into a mouth shape that we like. Now this is where you can add the grid back. Remember how at the very beginning I said to get rid of it? Well, this grid we can add back. It's next to this button that says solo right here. We can add that back to make sure that this is as symmetrical as we can get it. So like we can make sure that this green dot is on this little line here. You know, just try to get it as close as we can. And now we have this motion of the mouth opening. But that's not enough because all that does is open the line. We need to see the mouth inside that we drew. So now what we're gonna do is the lower skin that we meshed, we're gonna go ahead and add 2 keyframes again. Make sure we're on the far right. We're gonna use the arrow tool and open that mouth up. Yeah, that's right. We'll frame it to the lower lip we just created. And then would you look at that? There's our beautiful mouth. We got the tongue we drew and even the lower teeth are showing a bit. So now we've got this motion. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the grid again so you guys can see the art a bit more clearly. But what if we can make this a little bit more interesting? All right. Firstly, the upper teeth are a little bit too high. When this happens, don't key it to anything. If you want the upper teeth to show, we can just push it down a little bit. And there we go. Now the upper teeth will show. Okay, cool. We solved that problem. But what if we want the lower teeth and the oral, which is the back of the mouth, to do a little bit something more interesting? Well, go ahead and add it as our keyframe. And now whenever the mouth opens, by just all we did is I moved it down a little bit. That's all I did. I tucked it down. It looks like when the jaw opens, the mouth will slowly move down with it, which gives it just that little bit of extra depth without having to go super crazy with any rigging techniques. I know it's been a while. Make sure you've been saving. Let's go ahead and go to modeling. And let's go to posing and let it play. Now we have a mouth that moves. You're pretty darn close. There's one more thing I want to show you that you can do to really bring this model to life. There's one last rigging motion I wanted to show you to really help bring this model together, and that is Bouncy Physics. So once again, I'm going to be showing you the physics menu. But before that, we're going to create a parameter. We're going to call this bouncex, minimum of -30, maximum of 30, and bounce y. Remember at the beginning how I said to create a warp deformer of the entire model? This is where it's going to become handy again. We're going to select the entire model. We're going to go to bouncex, do 2 keyframes, scoot it all the way over to the right, and we're just going to push the model on the x-axis together. It does not have to be symmetrical. just as long as you got a squishing motion. All right, and you'll do the same with bounce Y, except I personally think bounce Y does better if you only squish it from the top. Because this panda is also sitting, so it would be weird if the bottom squishes up with it. So I like to just squish it from the top. Then go ahead and synthesize the corners. If you want to see it in practice, we got a little motion going here. But once again, when it comes to physics, we do have to apply it to the menu. So let's go to the physics setting menu and get that applied. Okay, we're going to go hit add. We're going to call this bounce. We're going to add angle X and angle Y. Change the effectiveness to 50 for each. Make sure you hit enter so the numbers remember. Add a pendulum. Go to our output setting. The output will always be the parameter you just worked on. So our output will be the bounce X and the bounce Y. Now, right now, nothing's really happening because, again, we need to go increase our output. And look at that. He is so much more bouncy than before. It just adds a little extra of flow to our little pet mascot. If you want to see it at play, go ahead and hit posing and just watch him move. And whenever he makes a dramatic movement to the left, right, up or down, there will be a little bit of squish up or down that just makes it feel a little bit more lifelike than before. If you do not like how this motion turned out, don't add it. But if you do like it, you can adjust, again, the intensity, how much you want him to be squished or not. Congratulations, you have completed your very first rig in Live2D Cubism. However, I did mention, if you wanted a challenge, that I would show you how to rig some bat wings. So, if you're here for the challenge, if you're feeling confident, feeling good, let me show you how to rig some bat wings. For the bat wings, we're going to open the breathing parameter from before. And we're going to go to either R wing or L wing. Once again, you get to pick which one you like better. Either way, we're going to add a standard mesh to both. Then I'll be working on this wing over here. I like to always work towards my right, the model's left. That's just how my brain works. Go ahead and add a rotation deformer. Hold control. Scoot it over. Keep holding control to change the direction. Now, I'm going to add 3 keyforms to breath, which is something we've already worked on to get the panda to breathe up and down. But when we move the red dot all the way to the right, we are going to make the wing go up and then make the wing go down. All right. Now, this is a simple movement I've already shown you how to do. You could leave it at this. But what if you want to make the bat wing a little bit more interesting? Well, let's create a parameter and call this bat wing move. Minimum 30, maximum 30. We're going to go to our L wing again. Add 3 keyforms. And then I'm going to introduce to you the deform brush tool. What this does is it basically allows us to just squish things. Before we were always squishing things with a box around it, but now you can manually squish things if you so desire. So what we're gonna do is with the bat wing, the new bat wing parameter you created, when it's all the way to the right, we're gonna squish the wing outward as if the bat is stretching out its wings. And this does not have to be perfect. You want to try to keep it as smooth as you can, but you might not be able to. I just wanted to show you that this deform tool exists. And you can also do this with a deformer box. It might be easier to do with a deformer box. But I want to show you that this little path tool exists. So now it looks like the wing is being stretched outward. Now we're going to squish it inward like they're folding the wing in. Now typically you would have multiple layers here so you can help show that the wing is folding in on itself, but this is one layer, so we're just going to pull it in as much as we can by squishing this. Alright, so just by squishing out, squishing in. Once you have this, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're gonna go to modeling, go to physics settings. Now, because we rigged the rotation deformer on breathing, it's already got that done in for us. Awesome. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new physics menu, and we're gonna call this a Batwing. We're gonna hit add. We're gonna add our input as breathing. We're gonna have the effectiveness be 100. Add a random pendulum, so we just tell it to work. And then we hit Batwing move as our output, excuse me. Now, it's not gonna work at first because we need to increase our output. But you see, we're still struggling. It's not really showing a lot. Let's add another pendulum, shall we? Still not working. Here's where we're really gonna have to mess with the numbers to see how we're going to be able to get this breathe out and in motion. Okay, I did some of the number crunching off camera so that I wouldn't bore you with some of the numbers. We now have this little circular rotation so that it isn't just an up and down movement. We instead get just a little bit of extra curiosity going on here. Now, is this the craziest movement out there? No, but it's something to add just a little bit of extra curiosity to your model. If you would like to copy what I have down here, you are absolutely able to do so if you'd like, and you can also tell how much it's moving by checking your parameter here. Now I can see that it's not getting all the way to the stretched motion I have, but it's definitely getting to the squished motion, so just to give you a bit of an idea. But once you have the wing to a rigging position that you enjoy, we're going to do the same copy technique we've done this entire time. So hold down control, grab your wing rotation, and then the final wing parameter you've been in. Control C, Control V, right click, reflect. And you shouldn't have to change anything, you shouldn't have to do any extra reflecting. Should automatically go with it. And then you can delete the right wing because you will no longer need it. We could go to the physics settings, and you will see the wings are now rigged. So you've done the rigging. You've made it this far. What next? Well, let's export it. Let's go ahead and close. Make sure you're saved. What we're gonna do is go to Modeling, Texture, Edit Texture Atlas. So if you're in the free version, the highest amount of pixels you'll be able to export is 2048. That's fine. This just means that when you zoom in your model, it'll get pixelated. The higher you export your model, the higher the resolution will be, and the more you zoom in, the better the quality will keep. But keep in mind, better does not, higher pixel does not always equal better. If your PC is not the best, you may want to export at a lower pixel amount so it does not explode your PC. I will be exporting at 4000 pixels because my PC can handle it, and it tends to hold up pretty decently well when zoomed in. If you're on the free version, again, you will only be able to do 2000. Go ahead and hit OK and let the texture atlas generate. Once the texture atlas is done generating, you can go ahead and hit File, Export for Runtime, Export as MOC3 file. Go ahead and hit OK. I'm just gonna keep the name the same as Panda Tutorial. Once it's done saving, apologies for my mess of files, go ahead and hit right click, New Folder. I'm gonna call this Panda Tutorial. Then you're gonna grab Panda Tutorial, all of the files associated with it, and put it in this new folder you just made. Then you'll go into Live2D Studio and put this folder you just made into the Live2D model folder. Mine is clipped because I put so many models in there for testing, but I'll show you how to find it real quick. In VTube Studio, if you ever want to find data folders, you just double click on this gear icon, and then if I scroll a little bit, it's open data folder right here, and then you'll be able to find the Live2D model folder where you will put your panda folder that you just made. Go ahead and get VTube Studio up. If you had it up and running before, you'll have to restart it now that you have a new model on hand. Go ahead and click on Change VTS Model. Go until you find the panda one. Alright, if you have the option to auto setup, go ahead and click auto setup. And bah! Da 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 da! There you have it. Here is the model you just rigged. If it is your first time exporting a model to VTube Studio, it's likely going to ask you for a webcam to set up or a phone for tracking. But if you have set up models to VTube Studio before, you may probably get the auto setup feature. And here is your panda! Yippee! I hope you have fun enjoying your new mascot. This is free to use, so if you would like to use it on your streams, show people the amazing first rig you've done, feel free to go ahead and do so. I hope this tutorial was helpful. I hope it gave you confidence in rigging at least the basics and showing you around the Live2D Cubism application. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please subscribe, leave a like, comment, all of that good stuff. This did take a while to put together, so I would really appreciate that. And I hope you have fun rigging and making VTubing projects in your future. Bye for now!